What's going on, guys? Good morning, guys. All right, go ahead and keep telling me good morning or check in as you log in, and if you want to, or if possible, open up your Canvas to well, let's see here, to the page entitled should be titled "Know Your Numbers." Should be entitled "Know Your Numbers," I believe. I'm having a hard time with my computer this morning. It's acting a little funky. Give me 1 second here, and I'll let you know exactly what the page is. We should be yeah, know your numbers, change your body. Okay. Know your numbers, change your body. Okay. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Okay. All right. Gonna start getting right into it because these lectures can get long, so I try to keep it short and make things as concise as possible. But I wanted to not only go over your number or the numbers, talk about what I mean by, know your numbers, but I want to talk about what it means in regards to changing your body. Good morning, guys, as you log in here. So there's a couple of things to get into here as it pertains to numbers, and numbers are really important. Why? Mainly because they're tangible. In other words, they're real. They can be calculated. They can be manipulated. They can be measured. They can be counted. And those are all very important when you're trying to make gains. And by gains, I don't necessarily mean weight. What I mean is progress. When you're gaining progress in your physical fitness program, whether it be through weight loss or running a mile longer or lifting more weights or throwing a ball harder, it doesn't matter what the fitness goal is. Knowing your numbers is absolutely crucial. More importantly, being aware that these numbers can be used, and I want you to know what these important numbers are, what they stand for. Give you an activity today with those numbers, but more importantly, what it does is kind of opens up your eyes, or at least your thought process, to paying attention to tangible numbers. There are a lot of people that start fitness goals with just one thing in mind, which we've already talked about: lose weight. I want to lose weight. I want to lose weight. And that can get really hard because there's a lot of people that work out and do things, at least in their minds, right. In their minds, they're working hard. However, they don't lose weight, and it's easy to become incredibly discouraged as a result of that. Almost like weight loss is unimaginable. It's unattainable. There's a lot of people that have a hopeless feeling like that when it comes to fitness, and it doesn't need to be that way. So stepping back, taking kind of the emotional aspect out of it, just starting to look at your numbers, gives you a baseline, gives you a place where you're going to start and how you're going to progress through your fitness. routine, through your lifetime of struggling with fitness, or at least engaging in fitness, hopefully, right? Hopefully you're engaging lifelong in fitness. Okay, so what are these numbers? The first, and probably in many cases in regards to fitness, the most important one is your heart rate. Okay. Now, how do you calculate your heart rate? Well, first and foremost, let's talk about two different heart rates, right? We have what we call our resting heart rate, right? And we also have our max heart rate. Okay, so obviously your heart rate is measured in beats per minute. And how do you do that? You set your timer on your phone. You place your two index fingers just underneath kind of where your thumb goes down and meets your wrist, right on your wrist. If you were to put both your fingers right there, you're going to feel a pulse. You can also do it up here, and a lot of people feel like they get the pulse a lot quicker by going up here. But if you just kind of calm yourself and be still, you'll feel your pulse down here on your wrist as well. You can turn on your stopwatch for 15 seconds, count the number of beats inside that 15 seconds and multiply that by 4. Or you can just count for a minute or for 30 seconds. Good morning, Jasmine. It doesn't matter how you do it. What we need to get to is beats per minute. For most people, the average resting heart rate, okay, the average resting heart rate is probably somewhere between 40 and 80 beats per minute. And by resting, we mean non-activity. So typically when you take your resting heart rate, it's when you wake up in the morning, you're still laying in bed, you haven't moved around, you haven't started to do a lot. Grab your phone, get your stopwatch going, find your beat, your heartbeat, or excuse me, your pulse, I should say, either here or on the wrist, and do your counting. Most of you will probably land somewhere between 40 and 80 beats per minute. And then we have max heart rate, which we'll talk about how you calculate max heart rate in a little bit. That's actually going to be part of your assignment today. So those are two good numbers to know, right? Know your numbers. Your resting heart rate is this, your max heart rate is this, but more importantly, measuring the time between you're at your max heart rate and how long it takes your max heart rate to get back down to a resting heart rate is significant. And it's probably one of the more important things that a lot of people don't pay attention to. And why is that so important? It's important because that is probably the second most important indicator of your cardiovascular health. The most important indicator is your cardiovascular health is what your actual max heart rate is. In other words, you go do a test at a cardiologist, they put you on a treadmill, you start going, they want to see that heart rate get to a certain point before exhaustion, right? That's exactly what the max heart rate means, is how high can your heart rate go before exhaustion. That's a pretty important indicator of cardiovascular health, but so is how long it takes your heart rate to get from max or from being high back down to your resting heart rate. I had an uncle who years ago, man, he would be huffing and puffing from tying his shoes for 5 minutes. And it was always really, really concerning to me that he could be, after doing just something very moderate, like moving a ladder, or I remember one time he was moving a bunch of fishing poles and literally was huffing and puffing for like 6 or 7 minutes after just moving, kind of everyday common things. So paying attention to that time, and as you get more fit or as you work out more, you're going to see that time actually decrease, and that's good. In other words, very fit people will go from their max heart rate to their resting heart rate in a very short period of time. How long is that period of time? Who knows? And that period of time doesn't necessarily matter. What you want to pay attention to is how long that takes when you actually start your fitness program. And then over time, how much has that time decreased? Because those decreases in that time represent that you're getting fit, right? And that's important. It's important. Measurements or success and goals in fitness can't always be necessarily seen, but they can be measured, right? They can definitely be measured. Okay. So again, resting heart rate, max heart rate. I'll talk a little bit more about max heart rate when we're kind of wrapping up this lecture today. Okay. In addition to heart rate, we have blood pressure. Okay. How many people know their blood pressure? When you're given your blood pressure, and there's a number of places you can get it. Obviously, you can get it at your doctor's office. I know at Rite Aid, you can walk in and they have like a blood pressure machine. You like stick your arm in there and you push a button and blah, it gives you your blood pressure. There are a number of at-home machines that you can probably get your hands on. You might even have a grandma or grandpa that have a little battery-operated blood pressure machine. It's important to note that you get two numbers when you get your blood pressure. Typically, most of you, because of your age, you've gone to the doctor, they take your blood pressure and they're like, you're 117 over 70, or you're 120 over 80. Those are great, good numbers, but more importantly, I want you to understand what those two numbers represent. 120 over 80, 120 is systolic, 80 is diastolic, and what they measure is the difference between your heart contracting and then relaxing, contracting and then relaxing. So 120 over 80, right? There's always pressure in the system, but when your heart contracts, that pressure is going to rise. 120 over 80, 120 over 80, 117 over 70, whatever your numbers are. And blood pressure is low blood pressure is an indication of health. High blood pressure is an indication of non-cardiovascular health or issues within your cardiovascular system. Okay, so knowing your heart rate, being around that 120 over 80 is crucial. So in addition to heart rate, in addition to blood pressure, we have BMI, right? And the reason why I bring up BMI is not because I absolutely believe that BMI is the end all and is really important. But the reason why I bring up BMI is because it brings up your weight. So BMI stands for body mass index. I'm sure most of you know this. And what a BMI chart does is across the top, it'll take your height or your weight. Let's say it takes your weight down the column on the left-hand side. It'll be your height, and you cross-check your height and weight. And what's that? What it does on that graph is it puts you in one of four categories: either underweight, normal weight, overweight, or obese. And it's a 2 to 3 digit number, so it can be like, and it starts roughly at around 15, 16, maybe 17, and goes up to like 40. So roughly, 17 to 18 is underweight, 19 to 23 is normal weight. I mean, depending on the body mass index chart that you're looking at, 25 and above is typically considered overweight. Roughly 28, 29 and above is considered obese. If you're in the 30s, you're definitely in the obese category. BMI charts are really, really, really important for a couple of reasons, right? First and foremost, they compare you to the average. In other words, and that's good. Comparison is good. what that chart is telling you is most people who are, let's use my numbers. I think my BMI is at 25. So I'm like right on the cusp of normal weight and overweight, believe it or not. I'm 5'10", I weigh roughly 72 pounds. That fluctuates a little bit. So I'm 5'10", I weigh 172 pounds. So what that's saying is most people who are 5'10" to live healthy need to be at my weight or underneath me, right? Not over. Once I start to get to about 175, I'm considered overweight according to most BMI charts. And that's good to know. That's good to know. If you're 5'10", here's the weight category that you should be in to be considered relatively healthy. So it's good. It provides comparison, but the other thing is it focuses on how much weight your body frame should be carrying. Okay. More importantly than body mass index is what we call body composition. Okay, so we have heart rate, resting to max. We have blood pressure, systolic, diastolic, right? 120/80. We have our BMI, right? Our height and weight, boom, puts us in a category of normal weight, overweight, whatever it is. Now we have body composition. What body composition is the percentage of fat compared to muscle that you're carrying around. Kind of a harder number to get. There are some at-home machines you can buy online where you kind of hold this little handle, you punch in your height, weight, you hold this handle, and it'll give you a body fat measurement. However, that's not necessarily the most accurate indicator or the most accurate equipment. If you belong to a gym, you could talk to your trainers at your gym or the management at your gym. They probably have these things called calipers. And what calipers do is they will pinch some fat on your arm, right here on your weight, on your kind of love handle area, right? And then down on your thigh. And together, they add those numbers up. They have a little formula. They can give you a body fat percentage. The most accurate way is to actually be put in a dunk tank, in a tank of water. I believe you could probably get this done at Cal Poly. I believe they have a tank. Most universities do. But what that does is it gives you a body fat percentage. For most people, and the reason why I say most people is because typically women can carry a little bit more fat than men. They birth children. They're more than healthy having some body fat on them. As a matter of fact, if a woman loses too much body fat, and that, if you're at around 5-6% body fat, you could lose your menstrual cycle. So I think most people are probably healthy and fine between 15 and 20% body fat. You start getting into like 25, 30%, 40% body fat. I mean, almost half of your weight is fat. That's probably not good. So I think most people should probably aim for under 20. If you're around 20, I wouldn't worry about it. You're probably perfectly fine. The last number I want to talk about today is blood sugar. Again, another one that's kind of hard to get. There's nothing you can really do about it at home, but the next time you have a physical, you could maybe request that your doctor do a glucose test, or just simply do some blood work and let you know what your blood sugar level is. We want that down. We want that down. And they have a glucose like insulin test where they take blood, and then they have you drink like a glass of orange juice, and you come back in like another 45 minutes or so, and they draw blood again just to see how your body is reacting to that boost of sugar. Those are good tests to have. We consume a lot of carbohydrate. We have a tendency to kind of throttle down on our pancreas, forcing our pancreas to produce insulin to kind of use that sugar as energy. And we're finding out that there's a lot of people becoming insulin resistant. A lot of people who are diabetic or pre-diabetic, their body just doesn't respond to insulin anymore. So knowing your blood sugar, keeping your blood sugar to a minimum is super, super important. Okay, so again, know your numbers, right? Know your numbers. Heart rate, blood pressure, BMI, body composition, blood sugar are probably, in my opinion, the 4 most important. There's other numbers to know in the fitness game, but these are some of the ones that are probably the most important. With that said, and going back to the graphic that you see in Canvas, right? Changing your body requires you ultimately getting to your max. That's probably the most important thing, getting to your max. And what do I mean by max? What I mean by max is either via heart rate or what we call 1RM, which is your 1 repetition maximum. In other words, you need to train cardiovascularly or lift towards your max effort in order to change your body, right? Hence me saying jogging doesn't necessarily work for weight loss. It can work for general fitness, but it doesn't work for weight loss. If you want to change your body, you have to essentially work harder. You have to work towards your maximum ceiling via heart rate or via strength, your 1 repetition maximum. Okay. We'll touch on this a little bit more in the coming weeks. That's really all I got today. I do have obviously an assignment for you today, and I want you to do a couple of things. Number 1, I want you to look at a BMI chart and identify your BMI number. Okay. And you're going to send that to me. Send me your BMI. Same page, right? Tell me what your BMI is. The other thing that you're going to do is you're going to look up how to calculate your max heart rate. Okay. Your max heart rate. Okay. And you're going to tell me your max heart rate. Okay, so your assignment's 2-part, right? You're going to click open your assignment page. You're going to type in 2 things. You're going to type in, you're going to tell me your BMI and your max heart rate. Any questions? Hopefully not. Super easy. Okay, not hard to do, but we're going to do some stuff with these numbers next week. Okay, so I want you to know these numbers, know your BMI, know your max heart rate. We'll talk about breaking down that max heart rate into percentages and training within inside those percentages and the benefits of that. Okay. So again, you have your assignment today. I need your BMI. I need your max heart rate. It won't take you long. This is going to be a quick assignment. And then obviously you have your assignment for Wednesday. If you have any questions, shoot me an email. If not, deuces. Have a good Monday.